I'd like to welcome to the stage the Communications Director of Riyadh Air, Ian Bradley, everybody. Now, Ian is not Tony Douglas, the CEO, but Ian is very well briefed in everything going on at Riyadh Air. And no offense to you, Ian, but obviously Tony is all over the world at the moment. He's got important business for various reasons, I think in the USA at the moment, and
yes.
It's been in Bahrain in the last few days.
Correct.
So it falls to you to sit here for 15 minutes and tell us about this new airline. Just briefly yourself, you're an experienced airline man, started as a boy almost in aviation, and worked for a number of airlines, particularly in the Gulf in recent years with Qatar Airways before Riyadh Air. But it is a new airline, it hasn't yet flown, but within the next 12 months, some people in this room undoubtedly will be having the opportunity to make a flight on Riyadh Air. And you're right now rapidly approaching completion of your AOC, Air Operator Certificate approval process. Tell us a bit about that, Ian.
Sure. So we're about 12 months away from actually launching. We intend to have our planes in the air at the end of next summer. And at the moment we are going through the AOC process. We've pretty much completed all of these flights this week. We leased a plane from our good friends at Saudi, so we don't have any airplanes who have arrived yet. So they've been very helpful with us. We've dry leased that from them. And that allowed us to conduct these AOC flights. So we've been flying to Munich, Istanbul, Cairo, Dubai, Kuala Lumpur, and we've done some flights internally as well, where we go to Jeddah, Tabuk, and back to Riyadh. So it's been a very interesting process for us to learn and to actually physically become a real airline and to be able to, see our pilots in action, see our cabin crew in action, put all of the ground operations in action, catering, the whole works, and test out all the facilities and all of the systems that we need to put in place. So we intend to get the AOC, subject to approval from GACA, who's our regulator, the Saudi Arabian regulator. And we believe that will come the end of this year, early next year. Now it's a process of going through and approving all of the manuals. But it's a very exciting time. When it comes to January, we become a real airline. And that then allows us to go to airports and start applying for slots and having the conversations with them, which allow us to actually operate and then announce our network.
And that testing process, Ian, I mean, you know better than anybody with career experience. You could have an existing airline bring in a new route, a new product, a new system, and they've apparently done all the testing. Come the day of reality, and it falls apart in some way or another. Something doesn't work. Are you really trying to stress test the things you described? Are you putting parts of your testing into, let's assume this goes wrong, let's assume these passengers don't board on time or that system fails, so that you can allow for the inevitable Murphy's Law, so to speak. Something can go wrong, it will go wrong.
Absolutely. You want to stress test this now. You're 100% right. There's no point in trying to do it when you've got revenue passengers on board in 12 months. That's when it will really fall apart. And I say to my team, I said, this is the best time to be working with an airline, and anyone who works in an airline knows, as a comms person, we're not losing any bags, we're not having any diversions, we're not annoying any influencers. It's great, right? We don't have operations, but that's going to come, so we need to make sure we're 100% ready. And even though I mentioned a diversion, we did practice a diversion the other day. It was on, I think, Sunday, with GACA regulators on board, and they said, okay, we were flying to Jeddah, we want you to divert now, and we did that. And it was a full proper diversion, landed at another airport in the kingdom. So that's all part of the stress testing to make sure everything is ready, so that when we do start putting revenue passengers on board next year, that we're in a good place. Invariably, it's the nature of airlines, things may go wrong. We want to be as close to perfection as we possibly can well in advance.
Now, the type of airline, Riyadh Air, as I said, a brand new airline. Saudi Arabia is going through an enormous reinventing of itself as a country. Vision 2030 is spanning the whole economy. We're talking about new cities, new strands of economic activity, a move from oil dependence. Obviously, airlines are part of that, but there is, if you like, a perfectly good airline already, long-haul Saudi, but you are going to be a long-haul airline. Why is there going to be a new airline, and how will that be different from Saudi Village?
Sure. Well, Saudi is we kind of call it our sister airline. It was the first airline we actually signed a code-share agreement with, and we've done a number of further code-share agreements as well. They have a very long and proud history, over 75 years plus. Very, very strong brand in Saudi Arabia at the moment. And they are based mainly at Jeddah. And Riyadh itself needs a lot more connectivity. It's very difficult to run a dual hub operation, as most airlines will tell you. So we've been mandated to step in Riyadh and provide that connectivity. You know, it's a G20 capital city. It has a population of about 8 million. It's expected to close on double by 2030 to 13, 14 million. And it needs that connectivity. And therefore, another airline is being created to kind of plug that gap. And we will work very close together. As I say, we have that co-chair agreement. You know, there's enough to go around. The distance between Jeddah and Riyadh is considerable. It's kind of the distance between London and Milan. It's a big country. There's almost, 30 domestic airports in Saudi Arabia. So there's a lot of business to go around. And you know, just the growth of tourism will be very significant in the kingdom coming over the next 5, 10, 15 years. There's hugely ambitious plans in place for that. I think the growth of the MICE industry will be very significant as people get more familiar and comfortable with the idea of coming to Saudi Arabia as part of, I don't know, the World Congress of Cardiologists or whatever it may be. So that will come as well. There's always religious traffic too. And everyone has kind of assumed, Saudi will take the religious traffic. And that's not true, and it's not fair on them. There is enough religious traffic as well to go around. It's very, very significant. And the stats for the General Authority Statistics in Saudi Arabia tell us that the typical religious pilgrim spends 30 days in Saudi Arabia. So they may come into Jeddah, go to Medina, Mecca, they may go out of Riyadh, or vice versa. So there's enough to go around for everyone. And Saudi is a great airline. And I was looking at some stats today. It's the second biggest airline in the region by seats, which is surprising because they're a huge domestic network as well. Now, I'm not here to do the PR for Saudi, but we're very close to a great airline as well.
And as you said, as a country, it's very different to other countries in the region. There'll be many audience members today familiar with your old employer, Qatar Airways, Emirates, Etihad, as hub carriers. But all those countries, UAE or Qatar, have small populations. They need the hub model to make it work. Maybe Dubai in particular has developed a substantial point-to-point market. But there's nothing like the population you describe in Saudi Arabia. And it's a young profile, very tech-savvy young people. They know everything digital. They're already familiar with traveling. It's an incredible dynamic, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's a very young country. The average age is about 29 years old, which is very unusual. It's a population of give or take about 35 million, and the vast majority of those are Saudis.
Yes.
The other countries, that's not quite the same. The expat population is far exceeds the locals. Those countries as well don't have domestic traffic because they're relatively small countries with geographical footprint. So Saudi is a very different market, and we're not trying to take them on and try to be a global connector like your Etihads, your Emirates, and your Qatars. That's not our intention. Our intention is to improve the connectivity to Riyadh, allow people who want to go or come from Japan, China, etc., where there's very limited connectivity at the moment, and that will be our job. That is our mandate to fill that role, to be able to bring a driver of economic benefit to the country, but provide people who are thirsty for travel as well the opportunity to go to places around the world. And that goes to the reason why we signed a number of partnerships with airlines already, even well before we start flying.
Yeah, you have announced a number of partnerships, I think, including Delta, I think,
yes.
more recently.
Yeah. So we started last year. Our first co-chair we signed was with Saudia, as I say, our kind of sister airline. We then we signed with Turkish Airlines. So, Istanbul, no doubt, will be very early in our fleet network to connect into the incredible network they have. We signed then this year at IATA with China Eastern, Air China, to provide connectivity into what will be a very important market as well. Then Singapore Airlines, which will open up tremendously into Southeast Asia and Australasia. So we will not have to have the footprint in Australia and New Zealand that they can provide for us. We just won't need to do that ourselves, which is great. So once again, Singapore will probably be early in our evolution as well, yes. I would imagine. And then the two most recent ones were Delta. So we went to Atlanta in the summer and we signed with a very deep agreement, I would say, with Delta. It could run to a joint venture down the road, subject to regulatory approvals. But there's a great knowledge exchange between the two organizations as well. We're working very closely together. We can learn a lot from them. They can learn a lot from us as well. And we also then signed with Virgin Atlantic, which would have been a surprise to many people who probably wouldn't have assumed they would, be interested in Saudi Arabia.
And they start flying, I think, directly into Riyadh.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And we had Shai Weiss over a few weeks ago to sign it with Tony, our CEO, and he loved what he'd seen. He hadn't been there before. So we're in a good position because, we're going to start small. but we're going to grow
I was
very,
going to
very
say,
quick.
you start in the second quarter probably next year with
Probably third, I reckon.
about 3 aircraft or so.
Yeah, probably 3. So, we need to make those aircraft work.
And they're all 787s. It's an initial order of 39 787s.
39, yeah, 39 787s confirmed, 33 options on top of it, which, the likelihood is we may take them.
Yeah.
We haven't announced a narrow body order yet.
Yes.
That's still going through the process.
I think you've said that we're likely maybe before the end of the year.
It's possible,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
it's
okay,
possible.
okay.
Everyone has been
You're a
speculating.
comms man, I get what you
Well,
get.
that's why I say it's possible, right?
Yeah.
But it's everyone's been speculating for 12
Yes.
months what that order might look like. But we need wide bodies first, because yes, we will fly domestic sectors, but we may be going to one of the major European capitals.
What about the big elephant in the room? Because I know Tony himself, Tony Douglas, has said we can't afford aircraft delays because we don't have aircraft already. We are a new airline.
Yep.
Boeing cannot deliver late, but Boeing, as we know, has got a significant list of challenges, including late deliveries. Do you still have that same confidence, or do you have a kind of a fallback position?
I would
that
say,
level of uncertainty?
As a comms guy, I would say both, right? I know, Tony is in the US this week with Adam, our chief financial officer, speaking with Boeing and just reinforcing to them the importance of, sticking to the schedule because we need these aircraft. We always say we don't have a plan B. We're not like most airlines out there who can extend leases, who can change their route network to fit their growth strategy. We don't physically have the airplanes. But we have a couple of things up our sleeve which you might see in the coming months, which might help us with our fleet.
Right, interesting. Watch out for those.
Yep.
And as a new airline, we just touched briefly with Gullitz from Pegasus just now about digital. You would call yourselves a digital native. And you've talked about some amazing things in terms of passenger interface with the website and app and so on that we haven't seen before. Tell us, we've only got a couple of minutes left, but tell us a bit about that. But how does that marry in reality with these legacy systems of other airlines and other business partners like airports?
Sure. No, it's a great question. We signed this morning, or we signed at our booth, but we had a handshake on the stage with Alex Manns from Flyer, who are going to power a lot of this behind the scenes, which is really important. Being a brand new startup, and Vincent Acosta, our CCO, yesterday said we can be the last airline in a legacy system, or we can be the first airline in the new world. And that's what we're trying to do. And I think the industry and all the different bodies are watching us very closely to see how we crack this. And I'm sure there will be pain points as we move forward. It's a tough ask, but we're very confident what we're going to do. We'll be announcing a lot more of the look and feel at FII in Riyadh at the end of the month. And so we say, look, we're kind of saying we signed with Flyer, which is announcing we've bought a Mercedes, shall we say. We're going to tell you what the spec of that Mercedes is in a few weeks, the color, the engine, the power, the interior, all of that. That will be revealed. But it's very exciting for us to be part of this. And that's what has attracted a lot of us who have worked for legacy airlines for many, many years, to be part of something new and exciting, the new world, and hopefully help the entire aviation industry. We're not there to kind of keep it to ourselves. We want everyone to learn from this as well and hopefully move the entire industry onto the next level.
Well, I mean, it's great to have, I was going to say a clean sheet of paper, but in the digital world, you wouldn't even have a sheet of paper, but you can really start from zero and truly develop. We've seen it in the past, perhaps with low-cost airlines. Other people have come on board, but you really do start that way.
Exactly. It's a complete blank sheet of paper, which is so unusual. And as I said, that's the reason a lot of us are there, to be part of this, because we've never done that before. We want to be part of a startup. And it's going, the great thing is it's going to be a successful startup.
Yeah.
It's not an entity that's, scratching and saving to try and to get planes. We've got the power of the Sovereign Wealth Fund behind us and PIF, but that doesn't mean we will not be a sustainable financial airline as well.
I was going to say that would be my key question. That are you tasked as a finger pointing at you to make money, to be profitable as soon as possible?
100%. We're constantly revising our business plan, looking at route networks, etc. What is the most commercially viable routes? What are the partnerships we want in place? What are our financing agreements with banks and lessors, etc. This is supposed to be a sustainable airline. Our intention is not to keep going back to our owner looking for more funds. That is not the intention at all. We want to be commercially sustainable as well as environmentally sustainable.
Because that last point, environmentally sustainable, again, it goes without saying, everybody's focused on it. Maybe you're also in a position, if we look at the country as a whole and its resources, to push the boundaries even further when it comes to aviation sustainability.
Exactly. I have been given sustainability to caretake it for a few months until we get real experts in the building who are more smarter than I am. But one of the first things I did was sign us up to the UN Global Compact, and I want us to adopt all of those 17 UN SDGs. So there will be 6 or 7 that will be core UN SDGs we focus on, but we should be doing every one of the 17, and they should have a local element to it. They should have a global element to it as well, but also one that will be relevant for the people who work for us. As we scale up, no doubt we will have more employees from, say, Southeast Asia, and we want to make sure that we give back to their countries where they're from as well. But in terms of Corsia, we've got some real experts in the building around that. Peter Bellew, who's our Chief Operating Officer, who you know well, former CEO.
A lot of experience with Riyadh Air in Malaysia.
Exactly, incredibly smart guy. He is very passionate about sustainability as well. He's built a great team on that. But facilities, catering, everywhere across the business we have these experts, and we want to embed it in the organisation from the word go.
Fantastic. Ian, as you know, as a comms man, we've got to keep things brief. We're out of time. Thanks very much for stepping into the hot seat at the last minute. We watch with interest in the months and years ahead at Riyadh Air's development.
Great.
So Ian Bradley, Riyadh Air, thank you very much.